you can't be.
Come on.
He's like the micro machine guy for me.
Rules Committee will come to order, and good evening, and thank you very much for joining us. This evening is a special opportunity for the Rules Committee to meet to handle a very important bill. Tonight, the committee will be considering Senate amendment to the House amendment to the Senate amendment to H.R. 601. That's probably a mouthful, but it's absolutely true. And the contents of this legislation sent over by the Senate earlier today are simple and straightforward. The legislation addresses the current critical disaster response, the needs of this country, and meets the funding obligations of this nation, including being prepared for what may come soon to other parts of the eastern part of our country. My fellow Texans and those from Louisiana are still suffering, and in many instances, people have lost everything. But we have hope, and we believe in not only ourselves, but what lies tomorrow for our future. We're also in the midst of understanding that other people have been in the Category 5 Hurricane Alley of the Caribbean. That storm came through not only our territories, but it's headed to Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas as we speak. I pray for their success and the hopes for many families as they batten down their hatches and tonight are preparing for an uncertain future. Tonight, we're obligating $15.25 billion of emergency supplemental package that's contained in this legislation. It includes $7.4 billion for the Federal Emergency Management Agency Disaster Relief Fund, $450 million for Small Business Authority for Disaster Loan Program, and $7.4 billion in Community Development Block Grant funding to meet the areas that are impacted by these ongoing disasters. With the support of Donald Trump and his administration, who has spoken clearly, the Senate legislation includes a continuing resolution to maintain government operations at the current levels through December the 8th, 2017. The nation's debt ceiling and the National Flood Insurance Program are also extended to that date to avoid any default during these ongoing national emergencies. Tomorrow I'll be going home to Dallas. Dallas has now, for several storms that have come through our Gulf Coast, been home to thousands of people. We're no different than other communities who are doing their best for people who are displaced, for babies who are being born but need a safer hospital, and for senior citizens who are moved out of harm's way. These displaced people will also receive government assistance and aid. The people of Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina are preparing, and they must know that the United States Congress will be with them also. The House of Representatives has a duty to ensure that government operations are maintained and our obligations are met. These might be difficult votes, but those are the facts of the case. I would like to yield to the gentlewoman from New York if she would like to make any statement. Otherwise, we will move to the gentleman from Georgia for a motion.
I'm prepared to move to the gentleman from Georgia.
Thank you. I would yield to the gentleman from Georgia, distinguished gentleman. Excuse me. Oh, I did not know which distinguished gentleman, but they're both distinguished, but I'll take the one that knows how to read tonight.
Motion for Senate Amendment to H.R. 601. Mr. Chairman, I move the committee grant a rule providing for the consideration of Senate Amendment H.R. 601 to the READ Act, Hurricane Supplemental Debt Limit, Continuing Appropriations, and Flood Insurance Package. The rule makes an order, a motion offered by the Chair of the Committee on Appropriations or his designee that the House concur in the Senate amendment to the House Amendment to the Senate amendment on H.R. 601. The rule waives all points of order against consideration of the motion. The rule provides that the Senate amendment and the motion shall be considered as read. Finally, the rule provides for 1 hour debate on the motion equally divided and controlled by the chair and the ranking minority member of the Committee on Appropriations.
You've now heard the motion from the gentleman. Is there
No, we're always so happy when Mr. Collins gets in the chair because we know we're going to be going in a few minutes. And I think we should make him the designated reader.
any discussion? Yes, sir. Gentleman's recognized.
Labor things, but I do want to point out that on a call today with Administrator Brock of FEMA, it confirms what I said yesterday. He says that FEMA is handling presently 30 disasters in the United States of America. He also indicated, when I put a question to him, how far would these funds go and how best could we help him? His response was that these funds will last until the end of this month. And he was asked by someone else, do you mean on into October? He said, no, September. That's how far these funds will go. And then he made a request that I think all of us should be mindful of, and that is that we pay attention to the fact that there are a variety of agencies that deal with recovery. And the simple fact of the matter is they aren't coordinated very well. And we see an example of that in the appropriations here, and we need to do something about it. I know many of you may feel like I do. Our people feel that FEMA can make them whole, and that is not the case. And there needs to be an exacting coordination in that regard. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Maybe somewhat to this point, I received a call today from our land commissioner in Texas, George P. Bush, and Florida Governor Bush's son. And we spoke directly about not only this package, but really about the attributes of how responsible Texas wants to be in utilizing this. And I'd like to, as part of my discussion with him, I'd like to, without objection, enter the record some documents that I would wish to talk about briefly that is essentially about disasters and money that is not well spent, and ways that we can ensure, I think, by knowing, and I spoke to Mr. Bush in terms of his knowledge of training people at the time they hand out money, because some people think we're going to pay for everything. And that's not the case. We have several different scenarios in Texas, notwithstanding that some homes that had never even gotten really wet or flooded because of trying to save homes downstream, they flooded other homes upstream to save the dam from breaking, the reservoir from breaking. So they've got multiple scenarios, but I told our land commissioner, I said, I want you to study the best evidence that I can tell you about how to avoid a characterization of misuse of federal funds. And it's not easy to do because you want to help people, but the law must be followed. So I want you to know that Texas wants to be an example of how to help your neighbor, how to follow the law, and how to rebuild. And I know your home state, Alcee, will get a chance to figure this out, unfortunately, again, maybe as early as this weekend. So there we go. Okay, further discussion? Seeing none, we're going to move to the vote. Those in favor of the motion from the gentleman from Georgia signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. Accordingly, I will be handling this for Republicans and Mrs. Slaughter. I want to thank each of you for the work that we have done. Next week, Alcee, we're going to be praying that you're back with us safely. Yes, sir. And the hopes and prayers from your fellow members of the Rules Committee, I hope you take with you home and bring it back safely. Godspeed. Thank you very much. Well, you might be, too. We'll celebrate that again. Okay, any other work for the committee? Seeing none, we've now completed our work for the week.